Good afternoon, everyone. It's that time of day. It's 1 p.m. and I am here to help give you tips and tools that you can help manage, get you through the pandemic. So, through this crisis that we're in, as usual, I'm just going to check to make sure that my video is live on YouTube and that you can hear me, that everything is
Usual,
fine.
I'm just going to check to make sure
Absolutely.
that my video
It's
is
great. So I'm talking about overwhelm today. If you're dealing with overwhelm, do this. Do this. And there's so many things that we can do to manage overwhelm. For those who are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Joanna Daniel. I'm a counselor. I live in Wales and I'm a mom of three. I homeschool. So I understand some of what's going on for people who have just started to homeschool because of the crisis, because of schools being closed and stuff like that. Life has been different. Life has never been like this for many, many, many of us. We've never experienced anything like this. And we're going to be live here on the channel weekdays at 1 p.m. On the weekend, we have pre-recorded content that we will premiere for you as well. But we wanted to be here to answer questions, to just be with you and to give you tips and tools to help you get through this crisis. Thank you for those who have shared the video. Thank you for those who have shared our channel and people are subscribing. We are trying to get the numbers up to 300 before the end of the week. We're a Thursday. I believe that you can help us to accomplish that task because you helped us last week. So don't forget to like and share and subscribe and turn on the notification so whenever we're live, you know that we're here. So today I want to deal with overwhelm. I know that it probably at the beginning of this pandemic, when we went in lockdown in March, overwhelm was everywhere. I found myself spending a lot of time in the garden, just sitting down in nature and just looking. Just, it's very quiet out there and there are the trees. And I just sat there for ages and just allow myself be, to be still. And it's almost I could feel overwhelm draining away from me. So that's one of the things that you can do if you're dealing with overwhelm, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if it's feeling like it's too much, you might want to take some time out, just you, and just be still. Being still with music is really good, or just being still with silence and quietness. If you are a person who gets overloaded with if too much activity is going on, and I know lots of people say to me, Joanna, I'm zoomed out. They've attended too many Zoom meetings and it's too much now and they don't want to know anymore. And so sometimes missing out on some good stuff. If you're one of those people and you're feeling, overloaded, sensory overload, then just turn everything off and just be still. Just be still in quietness and allow overwhelm to kind of just your body to recover, and it will help to do that. If you're dealing with overwhelm, one of the things that I did earlier on is to put a notice out, and I put that in my status on my phone, like, please don't send me any videos, because there are so many videos going around, conspiracy theories. There was so much happening, and for me, one of the way for me to protect myself and my space was tell people not to send me any videos. I asked them, please don't send me any videos. If you send me any more videos, I'm going to block you. So I boundaried myself. So that's one of the ways to manage the overwhelm as well. If too much is coming at you, you might need to boundary yourself. Um, Boundary who have access to you and how long they have access to you, and boundary the people that have access to you and what they say, what you're prepared to talk about. You can boundary the conversation, and decide, okay, we will talk about this but we won't do this. If it's too much, we won't talk about the news, for example, that because it's too much, there's too much going on there and I don't feel like I can manage. Because it's perfectly okay to know for yourself the things that overwhelm you. And it's not who suffer the longest is the strongest. That's something that we tend to live with, but that's not true. It's not who suffer the longest the strongest. It's who know the things that overwhelm them and do something about it. That's the strongest. That's what resiliency really looks like. When you know that this is too much for me, this thing's not going to work out, and you do something that will boundary yourself. That's what resiliency looks like. Okay, so find a quiet space, whether that it's in a garden, it's outside, it's inside on your own in quietness and silence. Sometimes you can play music, just soothing, soft, gentle music that can almost wash over you. Those things, that will help. Also boundarying yourself, boundarying your time, boundarying who have access to you, boundarying what the people that have access to you say, what are the things that you want to talk about. And I know if you're learning about boundaries for the first time and you're unsure how to implement them, this might be a little bit more difficult for you. And I'm sure we have things here on our channel that talks about boundaries, because it's something that I like to teach because I know it's really important. Um, so if you're hearing it for the first time, or you're not familiar with how to do it and you've not done it before, it might feel like, I'm not sure how I can do this. So one of the things that you can do, as I said, I did it, is put a notification on my status that says, anybody who sends me any more videos, any more conspiracy theory videos, I'm going to block you. You can put a smile emoji at the end. You don't have to, but and I know we tend to do that when we're uncomfortable, not necessarily when the people that we're talking to is uncomfortable. But if we're uncomfortable with what we say, we tend to kind of soften it for ourselves with an emoji. So, if that helps you do that, put an emoji. Another thing you can do is just kind of not open those messages. Turn off the notification on your phone of the people who are notorious. If they are well known for sending videos, bombard you with videos and things. I often don't open videos. One, because I don't have the time. I just really do not have the time to watch them. And two, because there are too many. Everybody find a good video, they send it. So I really don't have the time to indulge. So rarely do I ever open a video anyway. But those are ways that you can begin to boundary yourself and your time and your space, your headspace, and to manage what comes at you. Remember, yesterday we were talking about inside and outside threat. This is an outside threat that you can learn how to manage, to not have too much coming at you to overwhelm you. Okay, so another thing that overwhelms us, so that's number 3. Another thing that overwhelms us is our to-do list. Sometimes we have too many things to do, or we put too many things on our to-do list. And I'm talking to task A people. I know that what that's like. And as women, we have a lot of balls juggling at the same time. We're mothers, we are employees, we're employers, we're doing things, and we're wives sometimes, and we're sisters and friend, and there's a lot of demands for our time and our energy. But again, I'm going to say the boundary word. Boundarying yourself will really help you to manage those. There might be times when you stick to the bedtime routine so that the children are in bed, so you have some space and time to just be still with yourself and to kind of get yourself back to feeling okay. There are times when you have to boundary how much contact people have with you. And this is separate from, the videos that are sent, but just how much contact. Are you the go-to person that people ring? You might not be able to call everybody back. Set a specific time in your day that you're going to respond to messages. So there might be feeling pressured, like it's an emergency and I need to ring back. But it might not be an emergency. I'll give you an example. Yesterday I was working, my phone tended to be off, and I was talking to someone and my phone rang, and I quickly turned it off, and it rang again, and I thought, okay, so maybe it might be an emergency. So I asked the person to hold, and I answered because it was my husband, and it wasn't an emergency. He was just telling me he's on his way home from work. You see, so sometimes what's perceived as an emergency, it's urgent for the next person. It doesn't have to be urgent for you. You can determine what's urgent for you and the things that you respond to and the things that you don't, and when you respond. So you might have a slot in your day, between 12 and 1, where you're going to answer calls and you're going to respond to messages. And if you can answer 2 people in that time, then you deal with 2 people in that time. Maybe you might have another small window at the end of the day that you can do it. But if you allow everything to come at you, then that can overwhelm you. So, boundary in you is really, really important. So also looking at your to-do list, choose the things that are realistic. Choose the things that you can do. I know as mothers, sometimes we said, okay, so it's time for bed, I'm going to bed, but it means loading the machine, the dryer, folding clothes, and making sure the kitchen's neat, putting away this, putting away that. Maybe you'll do another little thing, and before you go to bed, you're doing 10 things before you actually get to bed. So maybe one of the things that you can try to do is to just not have anything to do after a certain time in the evening. And even if it's there, it will be there tomorrow and it will be absolutely fine. You can attend to it tomorrow and the world will still be the same. If you're in a habit of I have to, if you tell yourself you have to, then that in itself, just that word alone adds pressure. So that's another word you might want to examine and whether or not you want it in your vocabulary. I have to do this and I have to do this. When you have to do something, then it adds some pressure. But if I would like to make sure the clothes basket stays at half, that's a realistic, manageable goal for me, as opposed to I have to make sure the clothes basket is empty every day or every week. You see, it brings a different element, different feeling. And these are threats that are internal now because the closed basket on its own is not a threat. Loading the machine alone is not a threat, but it's what we tell ourselves about these tasks that becomes overwhelming. So you might want to manage when you're managing that internal threat is what language am I using to myself when I'm telling myself things? How am I talking to myself? Am I telling myself I have to, I never, I always, and I must? Those words tend to add pressure to us and stress and overwhelm. That can lead to overwhelm. And we don't want you to be overwhelmed because when we're overwhelmed and stressed for prolonged periods, then that can result in other kinds of problems. And friends, as I said, we're in this pandemic and we want to get through it as safely as we possibly can. Okay, so some of those are some of the ways that you can manage overwhelm to make sure that you're okay. If you have any questions, tell me, how do you deal with overwhelm? How do you manage your to-do list? How do you deal with the people who send videos? How do you manage, what are some of the threats for you that you've recognized externally? I'm going to put my details below this video. Please feel free to send me an email to let me know some of the things that you are managing and some of the things that you'd like us to deal with, as we are going to be here together throughout the rest of the year at 1 p.m. every day to give you tools, your family tools to manage. Um, Remember to join us on the weekend, and remember to share and like this video so that more people can have access to these resources. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for watching the replays and sending comments. I really appreciate them. Take good care until tomorrow. Bye.